Here's the Mindful Man with another chapter entitled Starfish. The last thing he saw was a starfish floating magically above him. Its beautiful colours sparkled like diamonds. This was the last thing he remembered. The next thing he heard was the rustle of traffic and the peeping of car horns. He was at the side of the road, and the cars were flying by as if in a race. He didn't have a clue where he was or where he was going. This was the strangest dream ever, if it was a dream. But with the dark clouds above him and the lightly falling rain, he decided to hitchhike. It's better to go somewhere than nowhere, he thought, and he stuck out his thumb and hoped for the best. About 100 cars and lorries passed him by, and he was beginning to wonder if he would ever get a lift. He was getting soaking wet, and then a bright red Mini pulled up and came to a screeching halt. He got in, even though he couldn't see the driver through the dark windows. As soon as he did so, he got a big shock. It was being driven by a penguin, and a polite one at that. Things got even more weird when the penguin asked him where he was heading. The penguin could speak. Jack said he had no idea, so the penguin was introduced himself as Peter. He put his foot down on the accelerator, and Jack fell back into his comfy seat, and he decided to go with the flow, as he had no choice. They sped around the country lanes as rabbits ran for cover. He's a good driver, thought Jack, but he drives too quickly. Jack buckled his seatbelt as they bounced along, and it was like being on a fairground ride, the waltzers, but much less fun, thought Jack. Peter was rattling on about how he had been a taxi driver and describing all of the interesting and eccentric characters he had picked up on his travels. He talked quickly with a rat-a-tat-tat of a machine gun. It was difficult to get a word in. He's definitely an interesting fellow, thought Jack, and he was well-spoken and sounded very educated, especially for a penguin. He must have read lots of books, thought Jack. He was impressed. He looked out of the window, and a car was fast approaching them on the other side. He must be going about 100 miles an hour, he thought. It was an open-top sports car, but it looked strange, as there was something sticking out of it. As it got nearer, Jack realized that it wasn't something, it was somebody. "It's a giraffe," exclaimed Jack in amazement. "Oh yes, we get lots of them here," Pete the penguin replied. "I just hope it doesn't run into any tunnels," he said with a laugh. They sped past, and the giant giraffe took off his bowler hat to bid them adieu. Whatever. Soon they were on a busy motorway, and Jack soon realized that none of the vehicles were being driven by ordinary people. They were being driven by oversized mice, angry-looking apes, wily foxes, and even an octopus. It was a menagerie of craziness. An ambulance sped by in a flash, and Jack peered at the driver. Surely they must be people, he thought, as two hyenas grinned at him and laughed loudly, as if in competition with the blaring siren.